You ever work so hard for something, only to watch it slip away because someone else had the right last name? That's exactly what happened to me. I had put in years of blood, sweat, and countless late nights for my promotion. Everyone in the Moore office knew it was mine. Even the client said, "You're the guy running the show." But when the big day came, my boss looked at me with a smug little smile and said, "Sorry, the position is already taken." And who got it? His nephew, a guy who had been here for barely 6 months, someone who spent more time scrolling his phone than working. My heart sank, my blood boiled, and when I tried to protest, the boss cut me off. He actually laughed in my face and said, "He's family and he's untouchable." Untouchable. That word burned into my brain. But what my boss didn't know was that in less than 10 minutes, the same board he bragged about would be begging me to step in. And that's when everything changed. Let me rewind a little. I had been with the company for almost 7 years. I started at the very bottom, making coffee runs, fixing printers, doing all the grunt work nobody else wanted to do. Slowly, I worked my way up. I handled projects nobody thought were possible. I built relationships with clients that others couldn't even get a meeting with. My track record was spotless. Everyone said I was the obvious choice for the senior manager promotion. Even the HR director told me quietly, "It's basically yours." That promotion wasn't just about money. It was about respect. It meant finally having a seat at the table where the real decisions were made. But then, the nephew arrived, fresh out of college, no experience, no hunger. But he had one thing I didn't: the boss's bloodline. At first, I thought, fine, he's just an intern, let him learn. But slowly, I noticed he was being pushed into every project I led. I'd do the heavy lifting, and he'd take credit. I'd prepare the presentations, and he'd stand in front of the board reading my slides. And every time I tried to point it out, my boss would shut me down with that one sentence: "He's family." The real breaking point came on the morning of the big quarterly meeting. This was the day the promotion was supposed to be announced. I walked into the conference room with confidence, carrying the proposal I had worked on for 3 months. It was airtight. Projections, growth strategies, everything lined up perfectly. This was my masterpiece. As the meeting began, I waited for my turn. But then, to my shock, the boss called his nephew forward. And guess what? The kid was holding my exact presentation. Word for word. My data, my strategies, my slides, all, with his name on it. He stumbled through the pitch, mispronounced half the terms, and couldn't even answer basic questions. I watched in silent rage as he crashed and burned in front of the board. And when the chairman raised an eyebrow and asked me directly about the missing details, I opened my mouth to speak. But my boss slammed his hand on the table and said, "Don't interrupt. My nephew has it under control." That was the moment. I realized this wasn't incompetence. This was sabotage. After the meeting, I confronted my boss privately. I told him, "You can't just let him steal my work. Everyone knows I built that presentation." He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said, "And what are you going to do about it?" "He's untouchable." Those words echoed in my head. Untouchable. The arrogance in his voice wasn't just insulting, it was dangerous. He thought the company belonged to him, and the board was just there to clap for whatever decision he made. But here's the truth about arrogance. It blinds you. He didn't realize that while he was busy protecting his nephew, the cracks were already showing. The board wasn't stupid. They could see the kid had no idea what he was doing. And behind closed doors, I was the one they trusted to deliver results. That's why what happened next shocked even me. Because in less than 10 minutes, everything flipped. As I sat there fuming, packing up my laptop, my phone buzzed. It was the chairman himself. My heart skipped a beat. He said, "Can you step into the boardroom again? We need you." I walked in, and the entire board was there, minus my boss. The chairman looked straight at me and said, "We know you made that presentation. We know the work was yours. Tell us exactly what you were trying to achieve." In that moment, all the aide-de-masibas frustration, all the humiliation, all the sleepless nights poured out of me. I explained everything in detail. The strategy, the numbers, the risks, the opportunities. And as I spoke, I saw heads nodding, pens scribbling, and eyes lighting up. 10 minutes? That's all it took. 10 minutes for them to realize who the real leader was. When I finished, there was silence. Then the chairman leaned forward and said, Why wasn't this presented earlier? I hesitated, then told the truth. I said, because my boss gave my work to his nephew. The room went cold. The board members exchanged looks, whispering to each other. One of them slammed his pen down and said, "We can't let nepotism sink this company." Another added, "If this is how leadership decisions are being made, we need to rethink everything." For the first time in years, I saw it. Power shifting. My boss wasn't in control anymore. The board was. And they were angry. Very angry. Word spread quickly. Within hours, my boss was called into a closed-door session with the directors. I wasn't invited, but people talk. I heard the shouting through the walls, accusations of favoritism, endangering the company's reputation, and undermining real talent. By the end of the day, the boss walked out of that room red-faced and silent, while his nephew was nowhere to be found. The so-called untouchable was suddenly untouchable. In a very different way, nobody wanted him around. Clients were already asking to work with me directly, and the board made it clear. Things were about to change. The very next morning, I was summoned again. But this time, it wasn't to be scolded or sidelined. The board asked me to take over the role immediately. They said, "We need someone competent, someone who actually understands this business." I was stunned. Just 24 hours earlier, I was invisible. Now, the same people who ignored me were practically begging me to lead. It felt surreal. My boss tried to protest, of course. He claimed, "This is a family business. You can't just push me aside." But the chairman shut him down cold. "This is a company, not a family playground." That was it. The power he thought he had was gone. Taking on the new role wasn't easy. Suddenly, I was responsible for decisions that affected hundreds of employees. But unlike my boss, I didn't let ego get in the way. I called meetings with every department, listened to their concerns, and built strategies based on teamwork, not bloodlines. The results spoke for themselves. Within 6 months, our profits soared, client satisfaction hit record highs, and new opportunities poured in. People who once doubted me now said, "You were the leader we needed all along." And every time I signed a new deal or launched a successful project, I remembered that word, untouchable. It used to haunt me. Now, it fueled me. Looking back, I realized something important. In life, there will always be people who try to hold you down. People who think connections matter more than hard work, who use words like untouchable to scare you into silence. But here's the truth. Real power comes from results, from resilience, from refusing to give up when others shut the door. In your face. My boss thought protecting his nephew would keep him in control forever. But arrogance collapses under its own weight. In the end, the board didn't beg him. They begged me, and that's the lesson I want you to take away. If you stay true to your work, if you keep delivering when it counts, even the most untouchable people can be replaced. And when your moment comes, don't hesitate. Step up, speak up, and own it. Because your hard work is never wasted. It just waits for the right time to shine.